Ciao! Hi, everybody. My name is Sierra Bush, and I'm the founder of Creative Edge Travel, so helping you step into Italy as if you're a local. And I've been traveling to Italy's remote villages since 2011, and the experiences I've been able to have because of the bridges I've built with those around me to help them be able to meet me halfway, to connect with me, to open up to me. Um, those experiences have been out of this world. Looking back on the stories I can tell, I'm so grateful and just mind blown that I've been able to have such beautiful memories to look back on and friendships that have developed out of it. So today we're diving into how to connect with locals anywhere you go. And we'll just give a couple minutes to see if anyone's popping on here. Hi. Okay, so you guys can filter in as you want. But before we get started, I just wanted to mention that in May and June, I'll be leading, hi Ashton, thanks for coming. So in May and June, I'll be leading our Secrets of Southern Italy trip, and we have just a few spots left. So if you know you're the kind of person who just can't quite bring themselves to chat up strangers in a foreign country, in a foreign language, but you know you want that insider, off the beaten path access, this is a great trip for you. Also, if you don't want the big tour bus, but you also don't want a car in a foreign country, don't have 2, 3, 4 weeks to do all the research that it takes to truly get off the beaten path and have an authentic experience. And if you don't want to be on the big tour bus going around like a herd of sheep, this is a great trip for you. So you'll have facilitated opportunities to get to know my local friends in a casual setting, and you'll get to learn about both the beauty and the challenges of that the locals experience. So a more well-rounded perspective of what it means to be Italian. So every activity is really focused on that human connection element of travel. And the best part is the group sizes are just 5 to 7 people. So it's really intimate. It's like going around Italy with a group of friends and a good mix of nature, of wine and food and art. And mostly, every activity is focused on that human connection element and meaningful connection. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that in case you're looking for a great trip to Italy this spring. We also have one in the fall. But if you book before Valentine's Day, you'll get $150 off when you book 2 spots on any 2019 group trip. So the link is in the description. Check it out. And we have a few other people popping on here. Hi, Linda. Hi, Lena. Thank you guys so much for joining. So happy to see familiar faces here and new faces too. So before we dive into the full workshop, I want to make sure you know there's a freebie download that goes with this workshop. It is so, it's actually so full of tips that the file size was too big to link in an email. So I had to find a new way to do it. So check out the freebie download. It's got a lot of insider tips, my insights that I've built from my experiences traveling off the beaten path, on connecting with locals and making friendships. The other great part about the freebie download is there's a whole bonus section with tips from professional photographers on how to photograph locals. And if you're like me, I'm sure every one of you, if you've taken a trip in your life, have come across this beautiful old grandma or grandpa or little kid playing soccer, and you really wanted to take their photo, but you felt too shy. You didn't know how to ask. So definitely check out that freebie download to learn how to maneuver that situation and get that photo that you're dying to get. It's also a great way to connect with locals. So, all right. You guys give me a thumbs up if you have ever been in a situation where you were right next to this really interesting looking person and you really wanted to learn about them and know their story, but you didn't ask them, you didn't talk to them, and you didn't know how. Has anyone ever experienced that when you're traveling? Awesome, I see a few of you saying yes. Okay, so I have broken this workshop down into 3 basic steps. The first is put yourself in ideal positions to meet locals. Number 2 is build a bridge, and I'll get into more of what that means later. Number 3 is make it meaningful. Oh, sorry guys, I'm seeing your comments now. I'm still not used to Facebook Live after doing this so many times. Ashton says, oh my gosh, so many times in pubs, on the subway. Julia, you say yes. So good, you're right there with me. I was definitely there before I had this years of experience kind of testing the waters and figuring out how to do it. So we're gonna help you out here, just stay tuned. Okay, so we're back to the 3 steps. 1, put yourself in ideal positions to meet locals. Number 2, build a bridge. And number 3, make it meaningful. So kicking it off here with step 1, put yourself in an ideal position to meet locals. So the first tip I have is to tap into your network. So the idea is to find situations and circumstances where you're going to be near locals that are more open to getting to know you, where it's easier to ask them a question, where they're likely to be curious about you, that sort of thing. So first, before you even leave, tap into your network. A simple post on Facebook saying, hey guys, I'm taking a trip soon. Who do I know who has friends or connections in XYZ city? You would be surprised how many friends of uncles of grandpas, whatever, that you would have that will connect you to that city. And that is really the ideal situation, right? Because then you're walking into an already established group of friends. And in those situations, you're more likely to be automatically accepted as one of the group and a new person that they are interested about. They're curious about how do we have this random connection across the world. So tap into your local network. Another tip is to travel to smaller villages where they'll be just as curious about you as you are about them. So I remember going to a village called Pietrapertosa in southern Italy. You maybe have heard of Matera. It's near Matera, but this tiny, tiny village. I literally saw one other tourist while I was there. And it's this gorgeous village. It's in these mountains and it's like these green grassy, hilly mountains. But at the very top of this village, at the top of this hill, there's these like craggy rocks sticking out. So really interesting, kind of Lord of the Rings looking. And all the homes are perched like in the nooks and crannies of these rocks. It's amazing. So I was there with my mom in 2014, and I just kept seeing all these older people that were, walking around and still dressed like you would think of from many years ago. But I got to talk to a few of them, and one of them, she didn't have any teeth, so I couldn't understand anything, but we still had that like heart connection and, the laughing and the being in an awkward situation together. And then another experience I had with an older man there, he actually told me that he had never left that village. And guys, I might have not quite understood correctly. At that time, I didn't speak Italian fluently. But that's what I got from him, was that he had never left the village. Maybe he meant he had never left the region. But in any case, that was kind of mind-blowing and so interesting to get to meet him and learn his story. So anyway, in this village, all the locals were just staring us down because it's so rare for them to see foreigners, and so they were really curious about us. So travel to smaller villages where they're just as curious about you as you are about them. So that way you both want to learn about each other. And then another tip is to use apps. So in the freebie download, I have a whole list of my favorite apps and tools to go to that will help me access more situations where I'm likely to meet locals. But 2 of my favorites, one is italki, and that's italki.com. And that's where you can meet a language partner. So you meet someone who speaks the language that you want to learn, and he or she wants to speak the language that you want to learn the language that you speak. So you speak with each other 15 or 30 minutes in each language every time you meet up online, and then you can actually meet them in person. I did that, and now my friend Lucia in Florence, she's one of our best partners. So we now do dinners at her home, and she has this beautiful view over all of Florence, this amazing historical connection to her home in the midst of an olive grove. And then after hosting a few dinners for us, she decided that she wants to, that she really has a passion for it and is going to pursue it. So beautiful that all that unfolded just from getting on italki and meeting, getting a language partner, and then actually meeting in person. And then a second app that I like that I recently discovered is Prontopia. And Prontopia is basically like Uber for locals. Started in Venice, where it's really hard to navigate those canals and there are no actual roadways, it's all waterways, it's like a maze, it's super easy to get lost. So they created this app where you can arrive at the train station, say, hey, I need a local person to show me how to get to my Airbnb or hotel. And then a few minutes later, someone shows up and actually escorts you to your place. But then you can also use it to like discover a new neighborhood that you didn't know about, where the locals hang out, or to find out the best spots to hit up like true artisan shops, not the tourist stuff. So things like that. So Prontopia is also really exciting. I'm really excited to have learned about it recently. And then another idea for putting yourself in a position to meet locals is to keep up your routine. So by doing the everyday things that you normally would do at home, you're going to encounter and cross paths with the locals who are also going about their routine. So whether it's joining a workout class, a meditation group, a group that jogs through the park together every day, or just going to the grocery store and going there to pick out your things for a picnic you're going to have later. You're going to come across the grandma that's picking her vegetables for Sunday lunch, or something. And you can ask, oh, I've never seen that vegetable before. How do you cook that? So that's a really, right off the bat, easy conversation to slip into. And then finally, another technique that I kind of stumbled upon is to ask locals to help you complete a challenge. So a couple years ago, I was in Puglia, Italy, in the heel of the boot, which is where our trip actually takes place that I mentioned at the beginning. And I'm an artist as well, so I was doing a giveaway for my art page. And I really liked the idea of having the local Italian or a group of Italians pick the name of the winner and read it with their accent and everything. So being able to go up to a group of people and say, hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but I have this contest and I really would like to film you picking the name. They got so into it, you guys. They were so excited to be part of it. They were hamming it up. It was great. So it doesn't have to be a contest giveaway that I was doing. Another great idea is just to say, hey, my friends challenged me to take a photo with a local every single day, or to take a photo with a local in every city I go to. Would you mind helping me out? Can we take a selfie together? Another really easy way to slide into a connection with someone and build that bridge. Okay, so that is step one. So step one, put yourself in an ideal position to meet locals, tap into your network, travel to smaller villages, use apps and tools, keep your routine up, and ask locals to help you complete a challenge. So I hope that's helpful already. Hi, Janice. Thanks for joining. Good to see you all here. It's so exciting. Okay, so going on to step two. Okay, step two is initiate contact, build that bridge, create an opportunity where you're showing that you're open and asking them to be open with you, being vulnerable together. So true connection is an exchange. It's when you get really excited about experiencing their world and they get really excited about showing it to you. So to get there, you need empathy. You need to go beyond what a typical tourist would ask to show them you really care about both the beauty and the challenges in their lives. So you need to tap into what makes us all human, right? So the need to be seen, to be valued, to be respected and appreciated, tapping into what makes us all human. So the key to doing that is to use the things that you already know, the things we all have in common: laughter, the feeling of sharing a good meal together, the frustration of getting a parking ticket, right? And of course, that depends. There are places that don't have cars and whatever, but those basic human things that we all experience, tapping into that. So by using what you have in common, you can build a bridge so the local feels safe, meeting you in the middle. So show your openness and invite them to open up to you through the questions that you ask. So basic bridge building 101, a few tips. Know the key phrases in the local language, and you get bonus points, like mega bonus points, for knowing how to say hello or random things in the local dialect. So taking a few extra minutes to learn hello in the local dialect, that's going to make locals stop in their tracks and say, whoa, who is this outsider person coming in here and speaking our, our little village's dialect? In Puglia, and I guess all over Italy actually, but especially in the south, each village has their own dialect. I once learned how to say something in one village. I went back home to where I was living and tried to use it with my friends, and they didn't know what I meant. So knowing the dialect of the exact place you are is a surefire way to make them, immediately see you as more than just a tourist and be curious about you. And build trust by smiling and making eye contact. So it's super simple. It's really basic, but just coming in with a warm vibe, positive, smiling and making eye contact, telling them that you see them, you appreciate them, and all that can be said just with body language, right? So be aware when you're stepping into a shop or when you're going into a restaurant. Just take that extra second, that extra little twist of the body language to show, I'm here, like I want to learn, I'm open-minded, I'm excited to be here, and I want to learn about you. And then also make them feel proud by raving about their country. Tell them how beautiful everywhere you've been so far is, how surprised you are that it's so earth-friendly or eco-friendly or so clean, or whatever it is that has stood out to you. Talk about that and show them how much you are enjoying their home. So making them proud. Also personally, tell them how delicious that coffee they just poured you is, or how beautiful those intricate details in their artwork is. Just making them feel appreciated. Again, it goes back to that those basic human elements. Making them feel seen and appreciated, understood and valued goes a long way. Okay, and then finally, basic bridge building technique, have specific questions at the ready. So in the freebie download, I have a whole page of questions that you can keep at the ready, but kind of thinking a couple steps ahead about what you want to ask them will be really helpful. So that's step 2, initiate contact, build a bridge. So that's, the basic bridge building techniques of knowing the key phrases, being curious and asking questions, building trust by smiling and making eye contact, making them feel proud, and having specific questions at the ready. And of course, there are some more techniques in the freebie download, but those are the basics. All right, how are we doing so far? You guys learning stuff? Give me a heart or a thumbs up. More people coming in. Let's see. Linda says, I met a restaurant owner near my apartment in Polignano just by taking my daily walks in and outside of the historic center. Of course, I also acknowledged his yellow lab puppy. Yep, dogs are always, that's a great point, Linda. That's always a really easy way to connect with someone, is through the animals they're keeping with them, or they're walking or whatever. So yeah, that's awesome. I love that story. Thanks for sharing. If you guys have your own stories, please pop them in the comments. I would love, love, love to read them. All right, so moving on here, we are already at step 3, and step 3 is the best part. Step 3 is really what makes the difference. So make it meaningful. So what is making a conversation meaningful? It's pushing past that initial front of, you know, rather than asking, what do you do, asking, what are you passionate about? So that's just kind of a typical example, but meaningful conversation gets at your abilities, it gets at the challenges. To me, it's about learning what their challenge is. It's so easy to go into a place and say, wow, this is beautiful. Or for example, on our trips, I like to explain how our trips are different a little bit. I like to say, you know, instead of sipping wine in a beautiful place, we actually talk about, well, what does it mean to be a winemaker today compared to 4 generations ago? And how have things like immigration or global warming impacted production? So just there in those 2 questions, you get at so many more nuances of the culture and the experience of being from that place. So making conversation meaningful is about the questions that you ask and the way that you ask it. So like I mentioned, there are a ton of sample questions in the freebie download, which again, the link for that is in the description. But a few of my favorites are, if you're talking to an older person, I love asking, what was your favorite hobby when you were young? And I remember a story from a few years ago when I was, again, in Puglia in southern Italy. I asked, there was this 83-year-old woman with her 83-year-old husband, and we were having coffee, and I didn't know what to ask. And then it came to mind, like, oh, I want to learn like what she likes to do, what she's passionate about. So I asked her, like, when you were a little girl, what did you like to do? And it actually made me realize how I hadn't taken into consideration her age and what life was like for her back when she was young, because she was clueless, and she even seemed like she felt a little bit embarrassed to have been asked what she's passionate about or what she likes to do. She just didn't know how to answer. And so I gave her some examples. I was like, did you like to paint? Did you like to go swimming? Did you, you know, all these different things. Were you into fashion? I don't know. And then when I got to, did you like to cook? She lit up and she was like, yes, yes, I love to cook. And so I realized, like, oh, back then you didn't like, you worked your hands to the bone. You didn't really, the whole family worked, and you didn't really have time to have passion, like hobbies, in the same way that we do today. So that was such a cool experience for me, opening my mind to being more aware of what the age can tell me about a person and what their experience has been, and help me then ask better questions that are more targeted to their experience. So I hope that makes sense. So one of my favorite questions is asking, what was your favorite hobby when you were young? But of course, keep in mind the situation in which you're asking them. And then, where can I go to eat really well around here? So specifically saying, I don't want to eat tourist food. That's, you know, because every tourist asks, like, where can I eat really good food here? But if you say, like, and I don't want it to be tourist food, like, where do you eat? Where is the menu not in English? That's when it's another bridge, right? It's pointing out, like, hey, I'm looking for the real experience here. I want authentic. It's going to make them open up a little more to you, and maybe ask you, like, oh, well, where are you coming from? How long have you been here? And then they'll give you tips, and who knows where it will lead. Then another question I love to ask is, how did you learn how to cook? Or how did you learn how to make that lace work? I guess there's another term for that, but I just had a flashback of going to a friend's house for Easter, and again in Puglia, southern Italy. I guess I've spent more time there. But I was staying at a friend of a friend's house, and he brought me to the guest room and showed me, set down my stuff and everything. And then I noticed the sheets on the bed had this lace work on it. And I was like, is this handmade? And he was like, yeah, my great grandma made it. And just like, to them, it was nothing, but to me, that detail was so amazing that someone's great grandma who had learned this technique from probably her grandmother and had been passed down for generations and generations. And I was gonna sleep on those sheets. I felt like I needed to peel them off and like put towels down and just sleep on the mattress. It was so special. But anyway, asking like if they're an artist or a cook or whatever their passion is, if you can get at what their passion is, that is key, I think, to opening conversation. But asking them how they learned that brings up all the memories of all their experiences, whether they had to fall a million times and get back up. That would make for a lot of interesting stories. Or whether it was, oh, I learned this from my great great grandmother, or whatever it is. That's a great opportunity to invite them to share their stories with you. Also, how many generations back can you trace your family here? I love asking that. The answer is always the same in Italy. It's like, I don't know. They literally do this motion of like years and years and years ago. I can't even start to count, and that's always just like, as an American, that's just mind-blowing to me to think that your family has lived in the same village for more years than you can count, and showing them that you appreciate that and giving them an opportunity to see in your reaction that you think that's really interesting and unique, invites more questions from them and more conversation. And then finally, another comment I like to make is, I bet you've seen a lot of change in your lifetime. So I guess it's in a situation where it's like, oh wow, like I bet the city before it became well known was very different. Have you lived here your whole life? And they're like, oh yeah, many years. And then you say, oh, I bet you've seen a lot of change. And then, that gets them reflecting on their life there and how it's changed. You can get a really interesting conversation about their perspective on tourism, which I think is super important to understand how the locals feel about the status of their village or their city in terms of tourism and how busy it is or not. So anyway, that's step 3, make it meaningful, the type of questions you ask, the way that you ask it. And I generally I've gotten into a habit of always asking myself, how can I make this more meaningful? So whether you are in a conversation with someone or, there are so many, we enter into social interactions every single day, and we typically, and it's kind of normal, right? We have a lot going on. Our mind is somewhere else. We're not even listening to the person when they're talking. But if you can take that moment to say, okay, how can I make this more meaningful? And it doesn't have to be when you're on vacation. It can be when you're on the phone with your mom, or when you are standing in line for coffee, or if you're taking a taxi. It's so easy for those situations to default to whipping out your phone, or just, if you're in a taxi, just watching the world go by. But if you can push yourself to ask that question, how can I make this more meaningful? It helps you think of a specific question you can ask, or, an effect that you can have on the people around you, whether it's just being positive and happy, or complimenting them, or just, interacting with them. Even eye contact, those little interactions are more and more important today, in the day that we're so glued to our screens. So if you can challenge yourself to also ask yourself the next time you're in a social situation where you're used to not interacting and not engaging, ask yourself, how can I make this more meaningful? And then let me know what happens as a result of that. I would love to know. Okay, checking the comments here again. Hi, Jana. Thank you for stopping by. Hi, Lori. Hi, Ani. You guys are awesome. Jana says, I know I had touristy food in Italy. That is so funny because I'm in a few groups on Facebook for people that are planning their trip to go to Italy. And recently I saw someone that said, how come every pizza I had in Italy wasn't good, or like something about the food not being good in anywhere they went in Italy. And I was just like, what? Like, nobody should go to Italy and not eat really well. Please get in touch with me. I will help you. So yeah, that's funny. Okay, so to review, we talked about how to connect with locals anywhere you go. And again, I want to point out, it doesn't have to be on the other side of the world. It can be right in your hometown, because there's something to learn from each and every person that we encounter, and something they can learn from you as well. So being mindful of the opportunities to have those interactions will guarantee you and improve the quality of your life so many times fold, and give you so many more stories to tell. So there were 3 steps. The first step was to put yourself in ideal positions to meet locals. The second is build a bridge. And the third is make it meaningful. So as a reminder, check out the freebie guide. It has a lot of tips that go into more depth than what I've explained here. And there's also a bonus tip page full of tips from professional photographers about how to photograph locals. So check that out. And did you guys have any questions by chance? Anybody have questions about connecting with locals? So you guys write me a question while I'm talking, and then I'll answer. Okay, so someone asked me earlier, how can I connect with locals if I don't speak the language? And that's a really good question. I'm very lucky because I have an advantage that I speak Italian, and when I'm in Italy, I can use that to my advantage because they don't expect me to whip out fluent Italian, which of course I'm always improving. I'm not a master of it, but I speak fluently, and that always surprises them. But if you don't speak Italian, or you don't speak the language where you're going, don't overlook the power of body language. And I touched on that a little bit earlier in the session. You can say so much with your body language, and you can even use that situation to your advantage of it being kind of awkward, like they don't know what I'm saying, I don't know what they're saying. You're gonna laugh about it together, and you can get creative. You can use Google Translate, you can draw pictures, you can mime and mimic, and you'd be surprised how much information you can get across just by miming and gesturing things. And that brings us back to, our talking about relying on what makes us human and empathy, and the things we have in common as humans. That brings us back to like the very beginning when we didn't really have language. So it's really getting to the core of it. So I think it's really interesting, actually. So showing gratitude and respect in your physical composure and your physical body language. So for example, lowering yourself compared to the local, and giving them a bow, showing them that you respect them. That can go a long way. So any questions? Any questions at all? Come on, guys, I know you have something. Well, okay, I don't see any questions, but this was so much fun, and I just want to say I started doing these videos maybe 6 months ago, and at first it was so scary to me. And today I'm really celebrating the fact that I didn't get nervous. I just stayed excited. And that is a real achievement. And I really encourage you, whatever you feel like, I wish I could do that, or I know I should do that, but it's just so scary. Do it anyway. Try to figure out what the next baby step towards that would be. and just power through. It's so worth getting to the other side and not having that fear, and being able to look back and say, hey, damn, I did that. I'm pretty cool. It's really empowering, and it gives you a voice. That's what's so empowering to me about getting comfortable with video, is I can now step on my platform and share my passion in a way that I hope can help other people have more meaningful connections and deeper travel experiences, and keep things in mind around sustainable tourism and cultural conservation. So having this spotlight to show people who I am and what I'm about, and help everybody who tunes in, is a real treat and honor, and just so grateful to have had the mentors and the friends and all the amazing women that have been examples as entrepreneurs for me. So if you're one of them, you know it, and thank you so much. Thank you. You're all so amazing. Okay, so I guess I will leave it there. Again, check out our Secrets of Southern Italy trip. The link is in the description. We have a few spots left in May and June. And check out the freebie download. So yeah, thank you guys. I may have, oh, Linda says, Sierra, your talks are always so meaningful and informative. Thank you. Thank you so much, Linda. I really appreciate that. You've been such a great supporter. And Jana says you did a beautiful job, Sierra. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Okay, I always have a hard time getting off of these because I had so much fun, and I feel like I have so much more to share. So I will see you guys next time, and let me know if you have any questions. I will answer them later. Feel free. So ciao. Bye, guys. Ciao. Have a good rest of your week, and download that freebie download. It's full of great tips that are going to help you. Ciao.